Now, many of you think that this represents the USA's victory against the British Empire during the War of 1812, but it doesn't. It tells the story of Napoleon's retreat from Russia in 1812. What does that have to do with today's topic, which is the consent of the governed? Now, there are many people in the radio business who paint themselves as upholders of the Constitution, and I respect them for that, because they talk about it 3 hours a day, 15 hours a week, as though they wrote the Constitution. But what's interesting to me is that there's been no mention of the Constitution both before, during, and after the bombing of Syria. Why is it that those who wrap themselves in the Constitution are suddenly silent about the Constitution? Well, it's not that they all share Cohen as a lawyer. Only one of them does. He doesn't even know how to read the Constitution, but he's smart enough to know how to use Cohen as a lawyer. But I'll read something to you. It's called Consent of the Governed. Second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. It won't hurt you to listen. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers, their just powers, from the consent of the governed. 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 What does it have to do with anything? Well, there's a couple of questions. Warmongers hijacked our Constitution on Friday. Did they get the consent of the governed? Have they provided any evidence yet that there were actual chemicals in those facilities, or were they empty buildings like Bill Clinton's aspirin factory? Well, let's ask ourselves some questions. Let's not just believe the government. Now, before I begin this show, which I haven't really begun yet, I must outline where I'm coming from. You got to know my motivation. My motivation is loyal opposition. There's a wonderfully important phrase in the British parliamentary form of government where they reference the loyal opposition. I consider myself the loyal opposition with emphasis on the first word, not the second. I am extremely loyal to Donald Trump and Donald Trump's agenda, but I oppose his bombing of Syria for many reasons, which I will explain today on The Savage Nation. And so let's ask ourselves some questions. If, as the government tells us, these facilities contain chlorine gas, why didn't the chlorine gas explode after the Tomahawk missile attack? Could it be because there was nothing in the buildings? I mean, if you know basic chemistry from your high school days, I'll make it even simpler for you. If you didn't take basic chemistry, let's say you were like Robert De Niro in the thespian world, and all you do is put on outfits and make believe you were someone else, meaning you were an actor. If you took high school chemistry, you would know that chlorine is extremely ignitable. And if you mix it with other fuels, it may cause explosion. And a container containing chlorine would explode in the heat of fire. And it's extremely poisonous and hazardous. And hydrogen and chlorine mixtures, by the way, can be exploded by almost any form of energy, producing toxic and corrosive fumes of hydrochloric acid. Highly toxic fumes are released. Why am I telling you this? Well, we all saw the Tomahawks flying off the B-1 bombers, right? We got to practice our new weapons. The manufacturer was very happy with how they worked. They tested them the way the Stuka bombers were tested over Guernica before World War II. Oh, yeah, Third Reich needed to test its Stuka bombers. They were new, the dive bombers. And so they chose a poor Basque town called Guernica to practice their bombing runs. Well, it turns out that the Tomahawks worked fairly well. Whoever manufactured them is probably going to get new contracts for those shiny new missiles because they worked. They worked really well. So as the Tomahawks flew out of our B-1 bombers, God bless the pilots, and they hit these alleged toxic chemical factories, I want to know, why didn't we see any explosions of gas, which would have killed thousands of people in the vicinity? There's only one of two answers. Either these factories of death were empty, or what's the other answer? I have no other answer. So we can only conclude that the factories hit by the Tomahawk missiles were empty. In other words, didn't one of our previous presidents fire missiles at an empty aspirin factory? Another one hit a milk factory in the Libyan desert. This is an old game. So Friday night, you see, I was off the radio, and it was 10 minutes to 6 on the West Coast when I got an urgent message from a very important person in the media. Michael, turn on the television. The president is about to speak. He's going to launch a missile attack in 10 minutes. I said, oh, God, it's my night off. Leave me alone. I'm in the city. I just want to go out for Italian food and drink some red wine. I turned the TV on, and, of course, I could not stop watching. I said, wait a minute, whatever happened to the consent of the governed? Didn't Donald Trump just a week ago say we were pulling out of Syria? Now, since Bolton came along, now we're attacking Syria. Maybe Iran is next. That maniac, Nikki Haley, another lunatic who doesn't know the first thing about diplomacy. Here is the ambassador to the United Nations threatening war instead of shutting our big trap and trying to make peace. Isn't the object of a government to project peace, not hate, and not war every 2 seconds? Nikki Haley is a lunatic. John Bolton is a lunatic. And we, the people, are stuck because we're supposed to have a government where a government that listens to us, the consent of the governed. I saw no evidence at all. I had Pat Buchanan on, who worked for two real conservatives, Nixon and Reagan. Real conservatives, not fake ones like you hear about today in the media. Fakers everywhere you turn. One of the reasons that the Democrats gave us Barack Obama and that you elected him, I didn't vote for him, but you did, was because Barack Obama had two opponents at the time, Hillary Clinton and John the Madman McCain. And both of these lunatics supported the Iraq war that Obama was opposed to. So one of the reasons we elected Obama was because he was a man representing peace. And then one of the reasons we elected Donald Trump was that he promised peace. He said he would take us out and keep us out of wars like those in Syria. And now we wake up a few days after the lunatic put in by the mysterious dark forces of the war party, the walrus who was seen everywhere gloating in the background as Trump speaks. If he's speaking on the economy, there's the walrus in the back, basking in the sun. Today, our war party, the same party that hated Trump, the same party that undermined Trump, is celebrating his missile strike against Syria. And in the next 2 months, we're liable to see yet another strike. And yet another strike. This time, maybe the war party will have him bomb Tehran. After all, why stop in Lebanon, in Syria? Why stop there? Why not go all the way? Come on, John, you can do it. You're a tough guy. Why don't you send boots on the ground there, Mr. Bolton and Nikki Haley? Send in, 100,000 American boys. Wouldn't that make you feel like little Napoleons if you did that? And wouldn't you risk war with Russia if you did that? Well, then take out Russia, too, while you're at it. Take out Iran. Take out Russia. Bomb everybody. And take out China. Get them all. I am the walrus, not. So what is Donald Trump going to do? You know what's coming up on May 12th? That's a month from now. May 12th is the Iran nuclear deal's deadline. By May 12th, Donald Trump has to decide whether the U.S. walks away from the Iran nuclear deal. That's May 12th, okay? That's number one. On May 15th, there is the formal move of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. Oh, my God. That should be fun. That should be a lot of fun. That should be an awful lot of fun. So the moron Nikki Haley, the psychotic, I don't know where Trump dug her up from. I don't know where he got her from. Says the U.S. is locked and loaded, ready to attack anyone who comes near us. Macron, the French maniac, says he persuaded Trump to strike in French. He says he persuaded Trump to strike. Trump wasn't going to do it. Macron is extremely unpopular in France right now. I guess he thinks that war is good for his popularity. I don't know how that works. I would have thought peace is more popular than war, but hey, I'm only a talk show host. I'm not in the halls of Congress. I make peace, not war. And so I'm not going to ask you any questions. I have a lot of them. Did you watch the Comey interview? Don't call me, because I didn't. I was busy combing my beard. Warmongers hijacked our nation. Can anyone call this show and tell me what are our national interests in Syria? And also, later on in this program, there's a big story in San Francisco that you'll never believe. It hasn't even made it to the local paper controlled by the illegal, corrupt, Feinstein-owned newspaper. Feinstein and Pelosi are being sued by fraud by black activists right here in San Francisco for failing to clean up a radioactive naval waste site off which allegedly their families made hundreds of millions of dollars. The Chronicle, of course, covered it up because there is no newspaper in this city. One local station covered the story that black activists who held a press conference an hour ago are going to sue Feinstein and Pelosi for fraud for not cleaning up a radioactive naval waste site, which was then used by the families of these sterling representatives for personal gain, according to their press conference. So there's a lot to talk about. The U.S. is locked and loaded, says Nikki Haley. I say we lost and the war machine won. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Do you have trouble sleeping like most people do? I'm here to change your sleeping patterns forever. I myself have never slept better since I started using MyPillow. I would toss and turn all night and never feel fully rested, but that's all changed once I discovered MyPillow the way I like it. MyPillow uses a patented technology that morphs perfectly to the type of sleeper you are. You create the pillow that's right for you, right on their own website. It's amazing, and of course it's all manufactured right here in the United States and comes with a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry MyPillow, and the best part is you get a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. I want you to go to MyPillow.com or call 800-768-0898, promo code SAVAGE. Take advantage of my special 4-pack deal. Buy 2 premium MyPillows, and you're going to get 2 Go-Anywhere pillows for free. Rush to MyPillow.com or call 800-768-0898, promo code SAVAGE, to take advantage of my special 4-pack deal. There's so much I can tell you about it, but let me just tell you about nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules in your body. It promotes healthy circulation, which gets the oxygen and nutrients flowing throughout your body, and it helps support healthy blood pressure. And you can help your body produce nitric oxide naturally by drinking Super Beets. Only Super Beets is made from beets grown to exacting standards, and the nutrients in the beets are concentrated in a way that makes them usable to the body to create nitric oxide safely and naturally. If you want to increase your body's nitric oxide levels, and you should, believe me, simply call 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. And listen to me, with your first Super Beets order, get another 30-day supply for free, plus free indicator strips to see how Super Beets actually work in your body, and free shipping. You can't beat it. Try it. 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. Lawyer is the president? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Why wouldn't you use Michael Cohen as your lawyer? Everyone needs a good bagman, lawyer, excuse me, mixed up bagman and lawyer. He does have 3 clients, him and another fine gentleman in Los Angeles. And, look, I'm trying to tell you what's going on here, and you don't want to hear it. I've given you a lot of good material in the opening, and I can't give you any more, which is why didn't the chlorine gas explode after the Tomahawk attack? If I have an education and I have some knowledge, please challenge me on that question and tell me I am wrong. Am I not allowed to ask the question? Doesn't the Declaration of Independence state that a government's legitimacy is based upon the consent of the governed? I am the loyal opposition. I am extremely loyal to President Trump and his agenda, but I oppose this attack. I believe he was misled and misinformed from the beginning to the end, and I believe the end game has not yet been seen, and I believe that the evil powers of the world are going to divide Syria up and steal the land for various reasons, mainly for economic advantage, meaning stealing land to run pipelines through Syria. It was the same exact scenario as under Clinton when they stole Kosovo from Serbia, based on the false premise that there was a humanitarian crisis being committed by the Serbians. The exact opposite was true. But it didn't stop Clinton from bombing Serbia into submission and stealing 1/3 of their land for the Kosovar Albanian Muslims. So we have the same thing going on now. But if you don't want to hear it, I mean, I could do other stuff. I had a wonderful bottle of wine last night. Would you like me to talk about the various points of Sant'Emilion and things like that, which vintages are good, and how great a 1995 was from a certain vineyard? I can teach you how to make shrimp and spaghetti if you'd like. You know, whatever you want, I can talk. I had hail this morning. Come out of my deck in the morning and there's hail. I said, hey, hail, the God's all here. I have never seen it in all my years in San Francisco. 2018, hail in April in San Francisco. Must be that darn global warming again. Al Gore hasn't yet given a speech on it, but it must be that global warming to explain hail. I frankly loved it. I didn't have to go up to Tahoe to get the snow in my face. But nevertheless, there are so many things, and the main poll question for me was, which I put on my website, poll question was the Syria bombing in the U.S. national security interests? Because I don't know if it was. It's running 80% to 20% no. And admittedly, my audience is much different than the generic American audience. The average, let us say, ice cream liquor, beer swilling, baseball goer probably loves the war. War good. We love war. I don't know. My listeners say 79% say it was not in the U.S. national security interest. Admittedly, it's a biased audience. War good. Now, can I please head back to the buffet and take my Humira and my other 7 prescriptions? One for depression, one for obesity, one for impotence, one for hair that's falling out, one for arthritis, one for national security interests, not 855-407-2882. Back in a minute. Thank you very much. The consent of the governed from the Declaration of Independence. What I'm going to do for you now is ask a question. On Friday night, as I said at 10 to 6, a friend called alarmed and said, Trump's about to give a speech. He's going to bomb. And at 6 o'clock, he gave a speech and the Tomahawks flew. So it didn't stop me from what I was going to do anyway, because I'm a very regular person. Nothing stops me from what I want to do if I can avoid it. And you have to make everything very personal. So I proceeded up to North Beach, the Italian district of San Francisco, with a couple of friends. And we sat outside having an alfresco dinner with a heat lamp over us, watching the parade of humanity go by. Most of the people were nice people. Some were like despicable forms of humanity that should be in mental hospitals. But the City Hall was closed at that time, so they were out in the streets. And as I was eating, I got a plate of cannelli beans to precede the meal. And I started to give a little talk on Periscope, which is off Twitter. And it lasted a few minutes. Now, I don't know whether everything I said Friday night I would repeat today. But I said stuff on Friday night that was live and fresh that I'm going to play for you for a minute. Not right now. Take it easy. Clint's afraid to make a mistake, but don't worry. I expect 5 a day. Here's the thing in life, how to deal with it. If you've ever taken, what's that called, anger management? I have not, but I had a friend who did. And he said to me that in anger management, they teach you if you're going from point A to point B in your car, if you're a hothead, tell yourself you're going to have at least 5 incidents on the road between the time you leave that point A and you get to point B. And you count them. Say, oh, there's number 1. Well, there's number 2, the guy who just cut me off in a Prius and gave me the finger. There's number 3, the 2 girls with green hair giving me the finger. That kind of thing. And you don't get mad. You don't get angry. You do it, and you find out that you're going to have a much better life. And then you add in a little wine. You put in your sugar. Fat Paulie says you put in your sugar in your sauce. I don't eat sugar in my sauce. Fat Paulie's dead anyway. You know, Lin Yutang was once one of my favorite authors. Come back to me right now. Look, boys just want to have fun. I'm having a little fun today because the bombing is over for a while. I don't know what Nikki Haley and the mustachio are liable to do to Trump today to convince him to bomb Russia maybe or Tehran. Who knows? By the end of the day, we get another emergency speech and either a nuke was dropped on Tehran. And then, of course, Michael Cohen's third client would cheer it on tonight on television. But what I'm saying to you is Lin Yutang was once one of my favorite authors, a Chinese-American author who wrote on the book jacket of The Importance of Living. He wrote something. He said, happiness consists not in the flights of fancy of poets, but in getting your hair cut every 2 weeks and watching your friend fall off the roof. So when I read that Michael Cohen's third client is a man who has bashed me for 20 years straight, both behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, I got to say thank you, Lin Yutang. It won't affect the listeners, after all. Bombs away. And great Americans love other great Americans. You're a great American. You're a great American. Steve on WABC line 5. Steve. Let's stop with the dead air already. Say something.
No, I was just glad that you're the only person that's talking any sense about having some peace. I mean, everybody says that Donald Trump is brilliant. Everything he's doing is wonderful. But what is our interest? I mean, I don't even understand. I thought the rebels on the side of...
I think that Donald Trump was brilliant the week before when he said we're getting out of Syria. That's what I thought was brilliant.
Yes, I'm 62. I take a half an aspirin a week, and I'm getting a headache. So should I take another aspirin?
You take a full aspirin at 325. You'll feel better.
You know, the Barolo is a good thing, but I'd like to introduce you to the Rhone Valley in France, the Châteauneuf-du-Pape. It's beautiful.
I'm not going to criticize you, but Châteauneuf-du-Pape is a wine for adolescents in college.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, come on. I drank that at Queens College. I drank that in lieu of swirl.
Well, let's get back to the
Yeah, let's get back to the issues at hand, which is, was the Syria bombing in the U.S. national security interest? I cannot find any evidence to support that.
Well, it seems like the people that, since they've spent so much money on the government's military, and it's taken away from the average American, but yet we are building up our military, which Obama depleted, and I do admit that we have a depleted military that needs strengthening, but we don't need wars in order to make justification for strengthening the military.
That's right. We need first of all, the parts are way backed up. Obama made sure there were no parts in the supply line. That's why so many planes can't fly. That's why so many ships are inactivated, because their parts were destroyed by Obama. He cut off the supply chain. And, yeah, we need to build up the military by having the manufacturers make all the spare parts, number one. The training needs to be increased in the pilot world, because that's why we're having so many crashes, which is bad maintenance and not enough training. But I see no national security interest. Just speaking as a side note about wine for 1 minute, many of you don't know where grape wine was first made. Many of you think it was made in Napa Valley, but it's not true. It was found, believe it or not, in Georgia, and I don't mean Atlanta, in 6000 B.C. Georgia, not the Georgia we know. It was found in Iran about 5000 B.C. Archaeological evidence of grape wine found in Greece, 4500 B.C. Grape wine found at sites in Sicily, 4000 B.C. But here's something you're not going to believe. There is earlier evidence of a wine made from fermented grapes, among other fruits, being consumed in China. See, they beat us again. 7,000 B.C. But hold on now. That may be the oldest one. The oldest evidence of wine production found in Armenia. Would you have guessed that? 4100 B.C. 4100 B.C. Pretty amazing. So you don't know. Many people don't know. They thought it was Napa Valley or France, but it really wasn't. The Iranians were getting drunk already 5,000 years before Christ. The Georgians, 6,000 years before Christ, they're getting stewed. The Greeks, of course, 4,500 years before Christ, were getting stewed. And naturally, the Sicilians were getting stewed 4,000 B.C. But the Chinese were at it 7,000 years before Christ. Amazing. Huh. Go figure. So you don't know. You get up a bottle of wine. Where does it come from? I'm interested in all of these things. But you're probably interested in other topics, and I'll take your calls on any other topic that you would like. Mike on ABC says chlorine would not have exploded. Mike, line one, please explain why chlorine would not have exploded after being hit with a missile.
No, it would explode, but the heat and the force of the explosion would render the great majority of the chlorine non-toxic.
Now, I assume you're a chemist and you're speaking from intimate knowledge of the thermodynamics of chlorine gas, chlorine when struck by a bomb.
I am not a chemist, and I was going to say that is the first thing. What you need is a chemist to explain whether...
But wait, if you're not a chemist, how are you giving such a definitive statement that chlorine wouldn't explode after being hit with an explosive? Why would you say it if you're not a chemist? All right, go listen to me, sir. Go have a glass of wine. You could get $2 Chuck where you live, I'm sure. And then call me back in 15 minutes after the first half bottle. Now we have a chemist on the line. I'm B.O.B. in Jacksonville. Gary, my question to the audience was this, and I put it up on my Twitter feed because everyone tweets today. I have to tweet, keep up with the Joneses. Why didn't the chlorine gas explode after the Tomahawk attack, which is my question? I know basic chemistry. I know basic chemistry indicates that chlorine is quite volatile and that it is explosive, and it would have disseminated throughout the areas that were hit with the Tomahawks and killed a number of people. I didn't see that. Gary on BOB on line 6, please explain.
Yes, chlorine gas is one of the most easy gases to generate. The equipment that's needed for chlorine is the critical part of the production of the chlorine. You don't store it. You have to reconstitute it rapidly and concentrate it into a weapon to weaponize it. So you don't go after chlorine gas if you bomb a facility. Gas isn't going to explode into the air.
No, I understand that, but the chlorine was in canisters in these production facilities, we were told.
Oh, you can produce it readily. You do not have to have it stored. Why store it when you can produce it? And
all right, so let's pause for a minute. In what manner is the precursor stored?
Chlorine gas can be produced by salt with electrolysis. It's very basic.
So, in other words, you think that the Syrians were taking the lengthy step of breaking down sodium chloride into its component parts, sodium and chlorine?
It would be the concentration of it and the weaponization of it that's critical, and that equipment could be could be destroyed in a raid. It would only set them back a short time because you can reconstitute. You can make chlorine gas readily. So a raid would not be after the gas or the storage of the gas. It would be after the capacity to remake it.
So you believe the government's line that they were destroying the capacity to manufacture chlorine gas?
The government lies all the time, but for the general consumption, the production of chlorine gas is easy. You don't store the stuff.
Well, let's assume that you are correct, and I'm sure you are, but let's go to the next logical question. Don't you assume he would have had some finished chlorine gas and canisters sitting there ready to go?
There's a possibility, but you can store this stuff and concentrate it.
No. Well, hold on 1 minute. Let's talk to the average listener out there. Let's say you take a bottle of Clorox and you put it on a firing range, and you hit that bottle with a bullet. What would happen to it? Would it just spill out of the chlorine bottle, or would it blow up?
Then it would go out into the atmosphere if you hit the stored concentrated gas. But that's not what you do. You have to have the equipment to concentrate it to weapon.
But we're saying two things. We're both saying different things. You're saying that we could have hit these storage facilities, but there was nothing stored. It was the manufacturing process that we were interrupting. Isn't that what you're saying?
Basically, you're going into the manufacturing process. Yeah.
All right. Let's assume you are correct. But my suspicion as a logician is that if Assad was such a demon, as they are saying, wouldn't he have had finished product as well in canisters ready to go again? As Nikki Haley is saying, don't you dare ever do it again. Where are those finished products stored?
Maybe, who knows? I can't answer that. Maybe he used it all up. But his ability with concentrators and stuff could be hit by...
All right, well, then let's change the question. He's winning the war.
Yeah.
He and Russia, with some U.S. help, beat back ISIS, beat back the good rebels supported by John McCain and the other demons. He has them reduced to a pocket of one city. The whole world is watching, and he would use chlorine gas on children.
Because it's easy to make. And once you use the stuff, you just...
No, why would he do that while the whole world is watching? Why would Assad have done that?
Well, once you utilize what you produce, it's not there anymore.
No, you didn't hear me. The world is watching him. He's almost beaten the enemy. They're reduced to a pocket of one city. Why would Assad have brought the entire world's wrath down upon him by using chlorine gas on civilians, including children? Why would he have done that?
There's a lot of craziness that goes on in the Middle East. I can't answer that, the motivation.
Well, no one can answer the question because it's not logically possible that he would have done that. And I still, to this day, believe this was a false flag event. And I don't believe you have to be a conspiracy theorist to believe that. In fact, when I come back on the Savage Nation, I'm going to play a Sky News interview with a former general of the British forces, Jonathan Shaw, who was cut off after asking why Assad would do this. You're not going to believe what they did to him on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Ladies and gentlemen, sure you could have harsh treatments to look younger, but why on earth would you do that? Listen to Joanne from Connecticut. She says, my husband looks 10 years younger using Genucel. He saw results the first day he used it. I've also had remarkable results, can't be without it. Imagine the bags and puffiness under your eyes gone, and watch those sagging, droopy eyelids disappear. That's years off your appearance. Genucel by Chamonix is an easy choice. Genucel contains natural ingredients for incredible results safely and quickly. It's as simple as that. In fact, with immediate effects, you will see results like Joanne's in as little as 12 hours, or you get your money back guaranteed. And right now, perfect time, try Chamonix's brand new Genucel Eyelid Lift for droopy, sagging eyelids. You order Genucel today, and you get the brand new Genucel Eyelid Lift absolutely free. So go to Genucel.com. That's Genucel.com or 800-SKIN-891. 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 Call now. Express shipping also free. Go ahead. 800-SKIN-891. 800-SKIN-891. Or go to Genucel.com. That's Genucel.com. Everyone seems to be warning you about a potential stock market collapse. What if it never comes? What if betting against the market is a bad idea? Truth is, our nation appears to be getting stronger by the day, not weaker. And so what if the market makes a big correction? It always recovers, right? Well, this topic is covered in a very special report from Swiss America. It's called the Crashless Society. In this remarkable free report, you'll discover how to connect the dots and find out about the hidden pluses and minuses of today's rising economic optimism. Get it for free. All you got to do is call 800-289-2646. Are you worried about your retirement account? Stop worrying. Start planning for the best years of your life. Thanks to the Crashless Society, yours free right now by calling 800-289-2646. Write it down. And remember, even during a big correction, some people seem to do very well. You know how they do it? Call 800-289-2646. Maybe it could be you. Discover how. Get the Crashless Society for free. Call it 800-289-2646. The truth is, and I'm going to talk about Casper Mattress. You know they're a sponsor, but there's a reason for it. I'm a big sleeper. If I couldn't sleep, I'd be a dead man. Or I'd be dead altogether. I'd sound like every other talk show host. But once I started sleeping on my Casper mattress, the world changed for me because they have great engineers. It's a favorite mattress of mine. And they have 3 different kind of mattresses that will help you sleep cool and comfortably year-round. There's the Wave mattress, the Casper mattress, and the Essential mattress. And they're all different. And all of the Casper mattresses are designed with zone support to cuddle and comfort your every move. And they all provide the perfect support for every position that you sleep in. So why don't you see for yourself why Casper has hundreds of thousands of happy customers? Try your Casper mattress for 100 nights in your own home with free shipping and returns. Just go to Casper.com. Use code SAVAGE to save $50 on the purchase of select mattresses. You heard me. Just go to Casper.com, code SAVAGE. Try it for 100 nights. Save $50. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. Now, I tweet so you get some of the stupidest people on earth replying to tweets. That's why they only tweet. They have nothing else to do. So a guy writes this: if you don't support the bombing, then you need to have your radio show taken away from you. You change your tone real quick on this, says JT. See, that's the America you want to live in, isn't it? Don't you want to live in an America where anyone who questions authority should be taken off the air? That's the kind of real conservatives we need. That's the kind that listen to the great Americans. who use Cohen for a lawyer. The brainwashed sheeple that I've been warning you about for 25 years. You think the people on the right can't be sheeple? I got another guest coming for you. The biggest sheeple than those on the left. You know, in the 70s, there were bumper stickers all over the place that said question authority. I remember everywhere you turned in the San Francisco area, question authority. And it was being generated not so much by liberals or by conservatives. It was a libertarian bumper sticker, question authority. So here I am in the year 2018 questioning authority, and you sheeple out there are telling me I should be taken off the radio because I'm not here giving you a Sieg Heil. Well, just turn on the Great Americans if you want that kind of garbage. The guys who go on the radio every day and wrap themselves in the Constitution and don't even understand the first thing about the words, the consent of the governed. It's from the Declaration of Independence. And never forget what I'm about to say to you. Never. Don't you dare misquote me. I am the loyal opposition. I'm extremely loyal to Donald Trump and to his message. His message especially of 10 days before the bombing. Not the Donald Trump who was hoodwinked by the New World Order that sent in these new troops to mislead him and deceive us.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-SAVAGE.
I will keep it up. I'm going to keep it up all day long. I'm not talking about Comey. I was busy combing my beard last night, couldn't find it. Instead, I watched Homeland, which is a disaster, horrible garbage. Too much with the child and the chick flick thing. I had enough of her. I'm not that interested in the adoption and the child. You know, stop it already. You have different writers on these shows. Sometimes they're great, sometimes horrible. Last night, zero. The consent of the governed is what I'm talking about from the Declaration of Independence. And I will remind all of you libertarians out there that there was a very famous question mark called question authority seen on the bumpers of cars in the San Francisco area in the 70s. Question authority. So here I am questioning authority, and all the sheeple are saying, Stop it already, Michael. Get with the program. Be like the others in radio. Be a great American. You don't even have Cohen as a lawyer, as a bagman. So what do you know if you don't have Cohen as a lawyer? You know, the real great Americans have Cohen as a lawyer. Someone does understand what I'm saying. He says, Dr. Savage, you're always right. Churchill and Plato were too. And then he adds, the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. And then he says, those who are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed by the masses. Welcome to the Savage Nation. But if you don't want to talk about it, it's enough. We don't need congressional approval for a bombing mission. Are you kidding me? What kind of antiquated country are you living in with the age of the internet? Why do you need a Congress at all? What do we need at all? I mean, we could have just one man rule, like in North Korea, and just trust in the one-man rule and never ask a question, because if you do, you will be seen as an enemy of the state, as they are in communist China, probably in Russia, probably in certainly North Korea. And the fact is that you have to not question authority. Never question authority. But I remain the loyal opposition. In fact, next week, I'm not telling you how, where, what, or when I will be going. Mr. Savage goes to Washington. And if I am fortunate enough, I will get a chance to express my views to the Commander-in-Chief as the loyal opposition. And hopefully I will be able to convince him that by remaining independent-minded and questioning, I'm the best friend he could ever have. It's that simple. And maybe I'll let it go, but I doubt it. Maybe I won't let it go. But I will say that this was our Guernica. The weapons worked well, didn't they? Who made those? Lockheed Martin? Their stock didn't even jump. I mean, if I were a good capitalist, I would have hedged on it. I would have been a hedge fund operator for the day. The minute I heard there was a bombing coming, I would have bought Lockheed Martin. I'm sure the people made a fortune over it, because those clean, beautiful new missiles worked beautifully. And they were dropped by B-1 bombers, not by ships. The ships were a ploy. See, the ships were sent in there as a decoy, but we didn't even fire them from the ships. And by what I read, they were fired by B-1 bombers and by a nuclear submarine. Isn't that good? Didn't you sleep better knowing that we used our nuclear submarines to attack a nation that couldn't fight back? That no matter how bad this bomb may be, He's not threatening us. In fact, he's wiping out the remnants of ISIS and such in Syria. But okay, that's too complicated. Let's remain good Americans. Let's remain great Americans. Let's remain great Americans. Really great Americans. What I want to play for you is what I did. It's the famous bean tape. I went to dinner Friday night. As I said earlier, I was sitting outside in an outdoor restaurant in San Francisco's North Beach, and the first course was cannelli beans. And the minute I went on the air live on my Twitter, I started to talk about the bombing with the camera focused on the beans. I didn't even realize what a great metaphor that was. But apparently some in the media saw the symbolism of my pointing my camera at the beans as I spoke about the fraudulent reason to attack Syria. Listen to this, and let's see if we're going to listen to it for a while. I want to hear it myself. I know you're all pouring in and you want to hear my opinion. Do I have to tell you what my opinion is? My opinion is very clear. There was no reason for this. None whatsoever. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, General Mattis said there was no evidence that Syria had done it. And all of a sudden, they're launching Tomahawk missiles. This is a disaster. It is not about me. Nothing to do with Michael. It's to do with America. The prophet Isaiah predicted all of this. Michael Savage says this is a disaster because just yesterday, remember what I said? General Madison said we have no firm evidence that Syria launched the gas attacks. None. And the next day, the commander-in-chief, in order to get his headlines changed, launches this. This is going to go on now all weekend. I'm afraid to tell you that most of the schmucks, all the MAGA hat wearers, are going to say, yay, Trump, great, keep bomb them, bomb Russia, bomb Iran. That's what you're going to hear. What will the Russian response be? Maybe nothing. Of course, the cowards have never fought even a fist fight in the street are cheering them. Of course, they're all owned by the hedge funds. I know who they are. You want me to unload on you? You want me to tell you who they are, all the ones cheering on the war? I'll tell you who they are. They're owned by hedge fund owners. They're funded by hedge fund owners. They're funded by frackers. They pay for their shows. You don't know any of this. Mattis or evidence? What evidence? You're telling me the American people don't deserve the evidence before we go to war? Are you people that stupid? What do you want to live in a dictatorship? You are really becoming a nation of mooks if you can think that this was justified. And I think before I say anything I regret on Monday morning, which I haven't said yet, because I haven't said everything I'm going to say later, I'm going to stop pointing at the cannelli beans, and I'm going to start pointing the finger at the right people. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming. I will tell you this, 50% of his base will cheer anything he does. They're the MAGA hat wearers. They're the idiots to say, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. You're talking about war and peace. Only schmucks would cheer this on without evidence. Only schmucks would say go to war, it's good. Well, as you can see, I'm in the streets of North Beach about to have a meal. Actually, not a meal, a glass of wine. And I've just expressed to you what I think. It is one of the most contemptible nights. Let us just pray that it's just for show. This is the end of the road. Have a nice night. Right. I'll be back later. All right, that's it. So that was me live with my feelings, my loyal opposition, my questioning of authority. Whatever happened to you fools out there who distrusted John McCain as near as a week ago, when right after the Tomahawk attack, John McCain said the following, I applaud the president for taking military action against the Assad regime, and I'm grateful to our British and French allies for joining us in this action. Then he goes on, this is John McCain, the warmongering madman. He says, to succeed in the long run, we need a comprehensive strategy for Syria and the entire region. Do you not understand who the hell John McCain is yet? Last week you hated John McCain. Now you MAGA hat wearers love John McCain. You don't even know where you're at. So, this is the problem with talk radio, is that the people don't really think. They just call in knee-jerkers, and they think you're disloyal if you question authority. I can't help you if you don't understand that without the consent of the governed, we have a tyranny, not a democracy. Period. End of story. So McCain wants a more comprehensive strategy for Syria, does he? That would be what, John? Oh, I see. Dividing it up for those who control you. giving them a piece, giving that one a piece, giving the French. Why would the French all of a sudden, who was so anti-war, why would Macron be so interested in this war right now? Why? You have forgotten France's previous role as a colonial power in the Middle East? You know nothing about the history of Beirut in Lebanon? You don't know anything about the history of France in Syria? Well, you should study a little of that. And maybe you'll come to the conclusion that Putin, who is said to want to reestablish the ex-Soviet Union, may not be alone in wanting to reestablish the authority of his prior state's greatness. Perhaps there's a bit of Napoleon in the macaroni. You never know. There could be Napoleon in the macaroon. And, of course, there's another topic, and I was shocked to find that even Fox News was discussing it. It turns out that old Wallbanger used the same lawyer that Trump did. I can't imagine what for. Michael Cohen's third client is Sean Hannity. They were just reporting it on the Neil Cavuto show. Now, Neil Cavuto is known to be at odds with old Sean. Apparently, they're competing with each other over something. So you got to watch out, Sean. You never know, even inside your own chicken coop. You can't control everything that's said. Maybe you can block Michael Savage 100% of the time, but you weren't able to block Cavuto from asking the question, were you, Sean? Could it be that your power madness is finally catching up with you? You great American, you fair-minded great American, a man who's out for the little guy, not for himself? You never can tell what tomorrow will bring. But I can tell you this I know for sure. It hailed in San Francisco this morning, and I say hail to the chief.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Here's some exciting news. Simply Safe Home Security just released their brand new home security system. It's the all-new Simply Safe. Now listen, this system has been completely rebuilt and redesigned. They've added new safeguards to protect against power outages, downed Wi-Fi, cut landlines, bats, hammers, and everything in between. The all-new Simply Safe was redesigned to be practically invisible with powerful sensors so small you'll hardly notice them. You know who will notice them? Intruders. Simply Safe spent years building the system. They added so much, but you still get the same fair and honest price. 24/7 protection for only $15 a month. And with Simply Safe, there are no long-term contracts. You can't beat it. This new system is smaller, faster, and stronger than anything they've built before. But listen, supply is very limited. Go to simplysafesavage.com now to order that system. You heard me. That's simplysafesavage.com, S-I-M-P-L-I, safesavage.com, to protect your home and family right now. Simplysafesavage.com is now applauding Trump for bombing Assad's regime. And he says to succeed in the long run, we need a comprehensive strategy for Syria and the entire region. So last week you would have been angry at McCain, and now you sheeple love McCain. Is that right? Well, that's not the way my mind works. And the liberals, I don't understand it. They didn't say one word before the attack, not one word. I was asking, where are they on Friday? All of a sudden now, Pelosi comes out against the attack afterwards, because I said that's what they were doing. They wanted him to attack so they could attack him for attacking. That's all. Now, I'm not going to do this all week. I'm going to do it today. And I'm going to move on. Sky News, important outlet. A general, former head of the British forces, has asked some questions about the bombing. And he's cut off in the middle of his answer in clip 3. Listen.
Do you think anything what we've heard from either Sergei Lavrov or indeed the Russian ambassador has made it more difficult for the UK to launch any kind of attack without putting it to Parliament?
Yeah, I think quite apart from all that, the debate that seems to be missing from this is, and this was actually mentioned by the ambassador, was what possible motive might have triggered Syria to launch a chemical attack at this time in this place. The Syrians are winning. Don't take my word for it. Take the American military's word for it. General Virgil, the head of CENTCOM, he said to Congress the other day, Assad has won this war, and we need to face that. So, and then you got last week the statement by Trump, or the tweet by Trump, that America had finished with ISIL and we were going to pull out soon, very soon. And then suddenly you get...
Okay, I'm very sorry. You've been very patient waiting for us, but we do need to leave it there. I'm very sorry. Thank you very much indeed. More to come on Sky News. Do stay tuned.
Now, Sky News cut the general off as he was about to elaborate on the absurdity of Assad being responsible for the bombing. But you know more than him. He only ran the British military. What would he know? I mean, you're sitting in your mother's basement in a pair of soiled pajamas these last few years because the economy never touched you. And so you tweet and you yell and you say Michael Savage should be off the radio for daring to question authority. Well, okay, what can I say to you? What I've not already said. 855-407. Where's Robert De Niro this morning with the Mook? I wanted a new Mook speech.
He's so blatantly
and now we have
stupid.
Oh, here he is.
He's a punk. He's a
not
dog.
Today, now you
he's
like him?
He's a pig. He's a con, artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care, thinks he's gaming society, doesn't pay his taxes. He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has. He talks how he wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face.
Now, that was before. I would think De Niro likes him today. I bet he no longer thinks he's a mook and all of that. Now we have the strange case of Macaroni of France, saying in French he persuaded Trump to strike. For the flavor of the day, let us listen in on Macron saying he was the one who pushed Trump into the bombing. Listen to 04.
Il y a 10 jours, le président Trump disait les États-Unis d'Amérique ont vocation à se désengager de la Syrie.
Nice.
Nous l'avons convaincu qu'il était nécessaire d'y rester. Et je crois que sur le plan diplomatique, au-delà de ce qui s'est passé, de ces 3 frappes, qui sont un élément, et pour moi c'est pas le plus important de ce qui se passe, justement, je vous rassure, nous l'avons convaincu qu'il fallait rester dans la durée. La deuxième chose, nous avons aussi convaincu qu'il fallait limiter ces frappes aux armes chimiques, alors qu'il y a eu des emballements médiatiques par voie de tweets qui ne vous ont pas échappé.
Passez Lafitte. So I'm just practicing my accent as I curtsy and bow next week. Macron said he persuaded Trump to strike in French. Nice accent for a man who speaks French so well. I learned which accent it is. It's a certain district of Paris, to the best of my ability to determine what he was saying. And then we have Mattis saying he was unsure of what chemicals were used. And you forgot that already. The collective memory is so bad. Listen to 05, please. Very important.
As far as the actual chemical used, do you know what it was? Was it nerve agent? Was it chlorine? Do you have a sense of what it was?
We are very much aware of one of the agents. There may have been more than one agent used. We are not clear on that yet. We know at least one chemical agent was used.
We know one chemical agent was used, but we don't know which one it was, so bomb it. That's all. Well, my fellow Americans, the war party is now running America. And I will remind you that we elected Donald Trump as a man of peace and a man opposed to foreign intervention, which is why I backed him and why I continue to back him and why I hope he listens to what you, the average person, actually think. Isn't that great that we have such a muscular ambassador to the UN who threatens war? I think that's so good to live in an America like that, ready to go to war at the drop of a pocketbook. Just the blink of an eye, ready to bomb. That's exactly what we elected Trump to do, which is bomb everyone in the world at the blink of an eye. Nikki Haley, you should get a Nobel Prize for trying to start World War III. You're such a brilliant woman, Nikki, and I suspect you now have a compatriot in the Walrus. So again, going back to the origins of the show, Plato's Republic, in one of the dialogues on the tyranny, he talks about the conflict of the rich and the poor in a democracy and the tyrant's rise as a popular champion, his private army, and the growth of oppression. And in the dialogues, it is asked, then isn't it true that tyranny arises out of democracy in the same sort of way that democracy arises out of oligarchy? How do you mean? Says Glaucon. The main objective of oligarchy, for the sake of which it was established, was, I think we agreed, wealth. Yes, yes. And its fall was due to the excessive desire for wealth, which led to the neglect of all other considerations for the sake of making money. True, true. Then does not democracy set itself an objective, and is not excessive desire for this its downfall? And you see how it goes. See, so the Greeks faced these questions before, and there was an audience of ignoramuses out there, as there is through history, who doesn't understand a word of the dialogue. They're just sheeple, and they go along with whatever they're told. And then there are thoughtful people who ask the questions and question authority and remain a loyal opposition to the original ideas of the authority at the time. You see, that's how that goes. Now, on the issue of excessive wealth and an oligarchy, here in San Francisco, we have the most corrupt government in the history of America. California, San Francisco, they're functioning like third world dictatorships with no newspaper opposition, no investigative reporting about the greed and the amassing of wealth of those who run this state. And yet, strangely enough, this morning, a group of black activists in San Francisco held a press conference, which you will hear nothing of. And during this press conference, the black activists in San Francisco said some things that are really quite alarming. They are alleging things that are very disturbing, if true, and I don't think it's something of any interest to anyone listening to the show, because after all, it's not about this or that. But it says Hunters Point cleanup, biggest case of eco fraud in history. $1 billion given by the U.S. government to clean up Hunters Point, most of it stolen by the powers that be. But you wouldn't be interested in that. You'd hear, you own CBS San Francisco, Katie Nielsen. The biggest case of eco-fraud in U.S. history is what an environmental advocacy group is calling the massive cleanup at the old Hunters Point Naval Base in San Francisco. Newly released documents show that almost all of the radiation data is unreliable. Homeowners worry they are living on dangerous ground. On Wednesday, the U.S. Navy held a public meeting to discuss the cleanup. So here in San Francisco, it's a tiny story. It got a little play, and yet they're pointing fingers at some of the most powerful politicians in America who happen to live in San Francisco. And CBS SF Bay Area, I linked it on michaelsavage.com, and they even name these people. Now, we don't know if it's true or false. We can't assume that Ms. Pelosi and Ms. Feinstein in any way benefited directly from the $1 billion that poured into this area to clean up this old base. In fact, I would assume, since they are known to be so above the law and so clean in their dealings, that there's absolutely no truth to the suggestion by these black activists that Ms. Pelosi and Ms. Feinstein and their husbands have anything to do with the $1 billion that was used to clean up the oil so that the area could be redeveloped into 12,000 apartments and condos on the old naval base. We have to assume that they had only the best interests of the public in mind when they got involved, because they're well known for that. But we won't talk about toxic dumps here in San Francisco. We'll talk about toxic dumps in Syria. I'm not suggesting that we use Tomahawk missiles on Hunters Point. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, if we're concerned about toxic chemicals in Syria, surely America could pay attention to some of the toxic chemicals in San Francisco that were not cleaned up, especially since we're hearing about it from Green Action Community organizers, meaning African Americans who are appalled at this scam and the scandal. But again, since you haven't read about it in your local paper, and it's not seen anywhere in San Francisco except on the TV, I was shocked that some of these TV stations are stepping out from behind the, I don't want to call it the iron curtain, the iron skirt. They're stepping out from behind the iron skirts and daring to report on what the iron skirts do not want you to see behind. That's right. The biggest case of eco-fraud in U.S. history is what they're calling it. You would think, since African-American activists are pushing this narrative, you would at least hear about it, wouldn't you? No. No, not when you have a complete and total blackout of the news on a national level. Anyway, we'll have to see how this scandal plays out. They're more interested probably in the hail than they are in this, or La Migra immigration raids, the earthquake that struck east of San Jose, the hailstorms, The fix San Francisco's Leaning Tower, the Millennium Tower, that'll cost billions of dollars. Or that the CHP is investigating a fatal leap from the I-880 freeway in Oakland. Things like that. That's what's important. Blood and guts. On the Savage Nation Not. WDRC Tom, line 7, go ahead. You like the war.
Hey, Mike, how are you? I'm calling because I've been listening to you today, and I have to tell you that I think there's a bigger issue with this bombing in Syria. You know, I think in the world there's got to be a moral imperative that people do not kill each other with poison gas.
Oh, we all agree on that, but we don't know that Syria did it.
Well, you can say
don't
that.
get me well. The former head of the military in Britain said the same thing, and they cut him off. So let's not assume that it was Assad who did it.
I heard you say that, but you're juxtapositioning that against what other highly respected people, military people, said that it was done. In Russia, and you have evidence that Assad has done it before, and that Russia...
Right, well, we had evidence from who? Where do we have evidence from that? Who gave us the evidence? The same people who bombed Assad a year ago, based on bull crap?
I can't answer that question.
I can answer the question. It makes no sense for a man who's winning the war to turn the world against him, does it?
What's that?
Does it make any sense for a man who is beating the opposition, has them cornered in a city, to bring the whole world's wrath down upon himself and then Tomahawk missiles? Would that make sense for a man who's been in a civil war for 7 years?
I cannot judge Assad.
So he's crazier than everyone on earth. Assad's crazier than everyone on earth. That's the party line right now. He's so insane that he would do this and bring the whole world's wrath on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, sure. Okay, well, maybe I'll do this again. Here is former Major General Jonathan Shaw, who was chief of all operations for the British military. I would think he knows something about it. I want you to listen to this again. It's very important you hear them cut him off just as he starts to explain that Assad wouldn't have done this. Listen to 03 again.
Do you think anything what we've heard from either Sergei Lavrov or indeed the Russian ambassador has made it more difficult for the UK to launch any kind of attack without putting it to Parliament?
Yeah, I think quite apart from all that, the debate that seems to be missing from this is, and this was actually mentioned by the ambassador, was what possible motive might have triggered Syria to launch a chemical attack at this time in this place. The Syrians are winning. Don't take my word for it. Take the American military's word for it. General Virgil, the head of CENTCOM, he said to Congress the other day, Assad has won this war, and we need to face that. So, and then you got last week the statement by Trump, or the tweet by Trump, that America had finished with ISIL and we were going to pull out soon, very soon. And then suddenly you get...
Okay, I'm very sorry. You've been very patient waiting for us, but we do need to leave it there. I'm very sorry.
Oh, leave it there.
Thank you very much indeed. More to come.
Yes, thank you very much indeed for taking one for the Gipper, taking one for the team. That's the former head of the British military who was about to go on, and the girl who works for Sky News was told by the boys behind the scene at MI6 to cut him off because he was getting too close to the truth. But what does truth have to do with anything? We don't even want the truth. It makes us uncomfortable. Do we want the truth? God is dead. And since God is dead, the truth went with him. I remember when I was in college, I wrote what did I write? God is truth is DNA. I was cute. Got a lot of attention at the time. Some of the girls who wore all black and were beatniks liked me a lot. When I wrote that, God is truth is DNA, I thought that was a big one. So all my life I've been asking myself, because my father used to lecture me day and night about telling the truth. Now, do I tell the truth all the time? No, I do not. I'm a human being. I'm fallible. And I'm not pure. I try my best, especially on the radio, to go as far as I can with the truth. But the fact of the matter is, I don't have any special insights, but I have a special ability to use logic. And in using logic, I come to the conclusion that this entire charade in Syria has something to do with cutting up Syria and dividing it amongst the powers of the world. And I predict that the war party under John McCain and Lindsey Graham are going to find a pretext to attack Syria very soon again, saying he did it again when, of course, it would make no sense with the world watching. But many of you will get out the goose steppers. You'll get out the goose stepping slippers. You'll get out the arms salute, the armband, and you'll do the Sieg Heil. All hail the chief. So I think maybe I've done enough, because many of you disagree with me because you are sheeple. You're not using your reason. You're not using any logic. All you're doing is believing, well, since they say so, I think so. Whatever the powers that be say, I believe. Isn't that odd that when Obama was president, you didn't follow, like that? Now you do? Okay, KUGN, Stephen, line 6, what do you think?
Well, I'm a loyal oppositionist as well, Dr. Savage. I was just sick on Saturday when I saw Trump come on the TV.
Oh, you must be the only one else in America, me and you. As I was eating my cannelli beans, it was me and you, no one else. Everyone else loved it, huh?
I was sickened when he came on and gave that little speech. I was just going, oh, no, how in the heck did they get to him? But my point I want to make is I did a search last night on Google looking for proof that Assad did this chemical attack. And I found lots and lots of articles from France, UK, the U.S., and it's all the same thing. He did it. So where's the proof? Well, he did it. We have lots of stuff that proves...
Right. He did it because Britain says, France says, and the U.S. says he did it. But where's the proof? We don't need proof. In fact, the proof it's not important. What's important is that, well, we're locked and loaded and ready to bomb Iran and Russia and everyone else. That's what's important, isn't it, Stephen?
Well, I'm getting more accurate information.
No, we got to bomb, and kill for peace. We got to kill for peace. That's the American way. And anyone who doesn't agree is a pinko commie from Berkeley. And they should have their media license revoked. They should be thrown off the radio for not wanting war. Even though we're against war under Obama, we love the war now because McCain told us to love it. I'm not talking about Comey. I'm not interested in it. If there's anyone listening to the show in the San Francisco area who knows anything about the scandal of the Feinstein and Pelosi accusations, about the scandal regarding the cleanup of the naval waste, we've tried to reach the black activists. We can't, but you're invited. We're going to leave an open line for you on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Beets are one of the superfoods of the world. There's so much I can tell you about it, but let me just tell you about nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules in your body. It promotes healthy circulation, which gets the oxygen and nutrients flowing throughout your body, and it helps support healthy blood pressure. And you can help your body produce nitric oxide naturally by drinking Super Beets. Only Super Beets is made from beets grown to exacting standards, and the nutrients in the beets are concentrated in a way that makes them usable to the body to create nitric oxide safely and naturally. If you want to increase your body's nitric oxide levels, and you should, believe me, simply call 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. And listen to me. With your first Super Beets order, get another 30-day supply for free, plus free indicator strips to see how Super Beets actually work in your body, and free shipping. You can't beat it. Try it. 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. News of another data breach. It was recently reported that hackers stole information from more than 5 million credit and debit cards used for in-store purchases at Saks Fifth Avenue, Saks off 5th and Lord & Taylor stores. Some of the card information was even put up for sale on the dark web as soon as the breach went viral. Look, there are many threats in today's connected world, and it just takes one weak link for criminals to get in. So, hey, good thing new LifeLock identity theft protection adds the power of Norton Security to help protect you against threats to your identity and your devices that you can't easily see or fix on your own. Of course, if you have a problem, they have agents who will work to fix it. We all know no one could stop every cyber threat, prevent all identity theft, or monitor transactions at all businesses. But new LifeLock with Norton Security is able to uncover threats you might otherwise miss. So please go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock. Use code SAVAGE. You're going to get an additional 10% off your first year. That's right. 1-800-LifeLock, code SAVAGE for an additional 10% off. This just came out minutes ago. Trump just put the brakes on new Russian sanctions, reversing the warmonger Nikki Haley's announcement. I told you Nikki Haley was a wild cannon who was owned by the war party, but apparently Donald Trump has taken control of his administration again, and he just put the brakes on a plan to impose additional economic sanctions on Russia, walking back an announcement by U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki the Mad Woman Haley, that the Kremlin had swiftly denounced as international economic raiding. So good for Donald Trump. He's coming to his senses. He's realizing he may have been misled by the war party, and he's standing up to the idiots like Haley, like the bristle mustache, and by Madman McCain. In the next hour, we'll continue to talk about all the news of the day. This is good news. This is the best news I've seen of the day. And I'm glad to see Trump maybe grabbing the steering wheel of state, the ship of state all over again. So we still don't know if Syria was behind the attack. They only assume it. And yet all thinking people say, but wait a minute, hold on. He's winning the war. The enemies, the Islamists, are beaten into a corner. Why would he bring the world's wrath down upon himself with chemical weapons? It doesn't make sense. But to the sheeple out there who are braying, yes, go for it, I say to you, remain skeptical and question authority.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
And their headline is this, and I'm appalled by it, frankly. It says Michael Cohen and Sean Hannity are a match made in you-know-where, and how dare they imply something in their subhead by saying the Fox News host is Cohen's third client last year, alongside two others for whom he negotiated hush money agreements. That's horrible. But, I mean, what do you expect from liberals? We know Hannity would never need hush money. He's a great American. Why would a great American who loves the average man, who believes in family values, why would he need to hire Cohen to do a thing like that? Don't be ridiculous. He wouldn't need Cohen for that. Maybe he had normal real estate or problems with normal legal things. He wouldn't need Cohen for hush money. No, I don't believe a word of this. And since he's been attacking Mueller day and night, I would suspect he doesn't want that investigation to go any further, just for reasons nothing to do with him. But Esquire says now the question is this: why did Hannity enlist Cohen's services? That's a smear campaign. We all know Sean is a good American, in fact, a great American, who cares only for the American people, only for the betterment of mankind. We know that. He makes no money at what he does. He does it as a charity. He's so kind and gentle to anyone who might oppose him in the media. He's a very good man. And I think that this is outrageous of the left to try to smear poor Sean Hannity like this. But I guess we'll have to keep seeing what they do next. On Twitter, Hannity denied he was ever Cohen's client. Oh, he says he didn't. He says he's known him a long time. And Hannity said that Cohen gave him his time. He gave him his time for nothing? You ever know if a lawyer gives anyone his time for nothing? I don't know. This is all, smoke and mirrors, the whole thing. So what I want to do right now is invite you to call on all the big issues like war and peace and things like that in the Savage Nation. Phone number is 855-400-7282. And while you're dialing, I'll be whiling. I'm going to start to sing Volare, one of my favorite songs, especially since I just ate reheated spaghetti and shrimp. These are Gulf shrimp, by the way. So, my friends, here we are at hour number 3. And we're talking about huge stories that no one cares a lot about. For example, here you have black activists in San Francisco. They give a press conference this morning, completely buried by the lone half mimeograph sheet called the San Francisco Chronicle that never covers any scandals unless they have to do with conservatives, who they ignore altogether like the Soviets did. And they're trying to tell us that the Bayview Hunters Point rehabilitation is $1 billion worth of money stolen by some very powerful politicians who put their own people in charge of the cleanup. And you don't want to know anything about it because you didn't read about it on Fox News. You didn't hear about it anywhere, so therefore you don't want to talk about it. I don't blame you either. Life is complicated. Why do you need more complications? It's not your business. what they're saying about Pelosi and Feinstein. What's more important is that they like to wash the feet of illegal immigrants because they love them so much. They're not interested in money. Headline on Drudge Report, California rejects border duties for troops except to give out water and fill the trucks with gasoline. Well, that's a good job for the California National Guard, is to change the spark plugs in the vehicles and give out water. They're going to send the troops down there for the mission, and their jobs are going to be maintaining vehicles, operating radios, providing mission support. Perhaps they can get the tacos that the Border Patrol is known to hand out to starving people as they pour over the border. Maybe the California National Guard can heat them up on a Bunsen burner. And that would be a useful thing. I mean, we don't want them to actually stop the influx of illegal aliens. That would be inhumane, wouldn't it? Let them all in. Let everybody in. I think you should erase the border. And then you'll have a clean, beautiful America again between the state of California and the government of Mexico. Then there'd be no crime to bring in drugs. Then they wouldn't have to cut heads off in Cancun. I hope that never happens here, mine. That would be awful. You wouldn't expect that to pour over the border, would you? No, that can't happen here. Go to Mexico on vacation. Go visit Cancun, nice place to go on a vacation. Just make sure your wife brings 6 body bags for each, like a head, and 1 arm, 1 leg, that's 4, heads 5. And the torso, that's right, 4, 5, 6. So the wife could ship them back by Federal Express. You'll be down in the hold on dry ice. But you'll enjoy the beach while you're down there. That's the main thing. Cyber war alert as Russians hit back. Oh, please, I'm already bored of it. I got a migraine from the whole thing. All of this is such a bore. Who cares about it? So there was a bombing, big deal. And the big long John Silver there did the interview, the 6'6" Comey. 9.7 million viewers. That's supposed to do everything on ratings. I'm supposed to compare it to the other stuff and say, oh, therefore it was a bomb. It was a good thing. 9 points. There was a lot of people. 9.7 million. I wish I had that every show. I don't have 9.7 million per show. It's nice. It's a good result. I understand the Country Music Awards had more, but what do you want? There's nothing to do about that. Big deal. 9 points, not bad. 10 million Americans watched that one. Comey, the thing. Comparing it to the others. Had the actual data here, but you're not interested in it. He did good. He drew 10 million. 10 million's nice. And the other ones were close. Here. America's Funniest Home Videos at ABC got 6.2 million. The Comey funny video got a lot. They got a lot, too. 9.7 million. 53rd Academy of Country Music Awards got 12 million. American Idol got 6.2 million. Little Big Shots got 5.52 million. And 60 Minutes, the rehashed earlier, they got 10 million. James Comey interview got 9.78 million. But dismiss it all as all everything's nonsense. All nonsense means nothing. All that matters is what you hear on the radio and what you believe on the radio. Nothing else matters. Everyone else is a liar. The entire left, they're lying about everything. When you were opposing the war under Obama, that made sense. But now that you're supporting the war under this war machine, that doesn't make sense. You know that Assad did it. You were told that Assad did it. Therefore, it's true. You can't question authority. If you do, you're probably a commie pinko from Berkeley. You should never question authority unless they're liberals. Then you can question authority. But I'm going to do this only today, and I'm going to keep doing it as sort of a lobby. I'm lobbying for the truth, and we'll see what happens. WABC, Robert, line 5, you're on the Savage Nation. Make your point, please go.
Yeah, Mike, I went Democrats in New York, and the same neocons that got to Bush got to Trump with the secret war plan called the Clean Break that was set up by neocons. That started with Bush, but it's part of taking out Syria, Iran, and Iraq. So
that's right. Well, you got to clean up the Middle East in order to have a better world. Don't you have to kill a few million people?
Yes. And the only reason the Democrats ain't making a big deal about it, because once there's war, there's displacement of people, which is going to cause a lot of... you have
any idea what kind of money they'll make off a war, a nice big war, when the husband's in the contracting business and rebuilding these countries that we blow up?
And migrants coming to the U.S.?
Oh, you got migrants coming in. There's a few billion in that, housing them, clothing them, feeding them, medicating them. A few billion in that. You have front companies that run that. Then rebuilding the country, you blow up a few billion in that. Think about that. And then if you provide body armor to the U.S. military that's defective, there's a few billion in that. And all the while you wash the feet of illegal aliens. Huh.
Right.
It's amazing how the world works, isn't it? KSFO, Sam, line 1, what's your point?
Yes, Dr. Savage, I'm a second-generation Syrian-American Christian, and I get a lot of my information, I follow this war religiously. I get a lot of my information from immediate family back home. One of them is the actual cab driver in the embassy district. And before the strikes, the jihadists were surrendering to a different location next to the Turkish border. But there was a stall because they were allowed to leave with small arms, but they didn't want to release any heavy weaponry. So that was the delay. Then all of a sudden, the gas attack, which, it's illogical. It's not that they were fighting. They were actually supposed to leave a week ago, but there was a delay.
Sam, you may be a Syrian Christian who gets your information from Syrian Christians in Syria, but we shouldn't believe you. We should believe those who wear MAGA hats and say the bombing was good.
It's horrible. It's like all the MAGA hat guys are acting just like the liberals before the
That's right. That's right. The very same MAGAites who were opposed to the bombing under Obama and believed Trump a week before when he said we're getting the troops out are now saying I should be thrown off the radio for questioning authority. How do you like that?
It's horrible. It's just.
Well, this is what you do. Either you come into this business knowing that you're going to get a lot of fools who are going to try to get you to go along with the program, and you're willing to get into the tussle of reality and questioning with them. But look, Sam, you said something very telling. You said it makes no sense for Assad to have done it when he was winning the war. Everyone is saying that, including the former head of the British military. Anyone with a logical faculty is asking the same question. But apparently it doesn't faze those with their hats on backwards, Sam. And you know what? For people who can't reason, there's no reasoning. You understand that? It doesn't matter whether they identify as a Trumpite or a non-Trump. It doesn't matter. You turn on the radio, you're going to hear the same people saluting bombing that were opposed to it a week before. So what are you going to do about it? I can only be true to my own compass. I'll be right back on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Everyone seems to be warning you about a potential stock market collapse. What if it never comes? What if betting against the market is a bad idea? Truth is, our nation appears to be getting stronger by the day, not weaker. And so what if the market makes a big correction? It always recovers, right? Well, this topic is covered in a very special report from Swiss America. It's called the Crashless Society. In this remarkable free report, you'll discover how to connect the dots and find out about the hidden pluses and minuses of today's rising economic optimism. Get it for free. All you got to do is call 800-289-2646. Are you worried about your retirement account? Stop worrying. Start planning for the best years of your life. Thanks to the Crashless Society, yours free right now by calling 800-289-2646. Write it down. And remember, even during a big correction, some people seem to do very well. You know how they do it? Call 800-289-2646. Maybe it could be you. Discover how. Get the Crashless Society for free. Call it 800-289-2646. Because everything is connected. Your cell phone connected to your tablet. Tablet is connected to your smart TV. And they're all connected to your Wi-Fi. Great. But it may only take one weak link in all those connections for criminals to get in. That's why new LifeLock identity theft protection now adds the power of Norton Security, which I use, by the way. While LifeLock uses proprietary technology to detect threats to your identity, like your info for sale on the dark web, the addition of Norton Security helps protect up to 5 of your devices from online threats like ransomware. And if there's a problem, LifeLock's agents will work to fix it. Of course, no one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But new LifeLock with Norton gives you more protection for today's connected world. I want you to join now and you'll get an additional 10% off your first year. Just head to LifeLock.com, enter promo code SAVAGE. That's LifeLock.com, promo code SAVAGE for an additional 10% off your first year.
Yes. but not in the way I often hear people talk about it. I don't buy the stuff about him being mentally incompetent or early stages of dementia. He strikes me as a person of above average intelligence who's tracking conversations and knows what's going on. I don't think he's medically unfit to be president. I think he's morally unfit to be president.
Morally unfit. That's an interesting choice of words. Let's hear what else Mr. Comey has to say in 14. All lies, as you well know. Let's hear 14.
A person who sees moral equivalence in Charlottesville, who talks about and treats women like they're pieces of meat, who lies constantly about matters big and small and insists the American people believe it, that person is not fit to be president of the United States on moral grounds. Our president must embody respect and adhere to the values that are at the core of this country. The most important being truth. This president is not able to do that. He is morally unfit to be president.
Right, the kettle calling the teapot, whatever. I got it. So it's all politics. The book will sell like crazy. The libs have lined up already. They're salivating for the old book. And he never said that there was moral equivalence in Charlottesville. That's another big lie that's been repeated over and over again. As far as him treating women like they're pieces of meat, I don't know. I can't even comment on that. That's such a low blow, a thing like that. You know, this is getting dirtier by the day. What do you want me to do? Talk about this? It's just out to get Trump and to destroy him. And it'd be the worst thing on earth if they were to remove Trump, because he does reflect the values of America, very clearly does so. And the liberals do not reflect the values of America. The left wing represents a valueless America, as far as I could tell. So he's the best that we've had in a very long time. And to compare him to a mob boss and to say he doesn't reflect the values of the country is nonsense. It's ludicrous, especially coming from Comey, who himself is a questionable source of information out to sell a book. But as old Chuck Schumer said, this deep state can get to you 6 times to Sunday if they want, and I think they've gotten to him 6 times to Sunday, and they haven't really gotten to him. They went with the Russia collusion for a year. They got nothing on it. And frankly, Mueller should have been closed down after that. And he wasn't. And he kept it up and kept it up and kept it up. And in the midst of it all, the warmongers have hijacked our nation and our national interests. I'd like to still ask you the same question for you to ponder during the evening in all of the war fever. Can you please explain to me the national security interests of bombing Syria? Because I, for the life of me, don't see any. And I actually agree with Trump a week before when he agreed with that statement, and he said he's pulling the troops out. Leave it to them, he said. And how many times do I have to tell you that the Islamists are the most dangerous group in the Middle East, and that the Christians in Syria will all die, their churches will all be blown up? You may not know it. There's a large Jewish community in Syria. I know I'm not allowed to mention that because it's kind of a very uncomfortable statement. There's a very ancient Syrian Jewish community that's protected by Assad, a very large Christian community protected by Assad. So you now want to support the Islamists. You'd like to see the slaughter of Jews and Christians now in the Middle East because you don't know the whole picture? Well, you should know the whole picture. I think the Syria bombing was not in the U.S. national security interest. The proof is that Assad was winning. He had no logical reason to do it. He wouldn't have done it. He's not a madman after 7 years. And let me be very clear. We all want the Syrian civil war to end. We all want the Syrians who were dispersed throughout the world to go home. Go back and rebuild their own nation. They should go back there, rebuild the country, and just have peace in that nation. But it's not going to happen. McCain and the War Party want to divide Syria in 4. And you know who's going to get the slices of that pie, don't you? Just check out the map.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.
Well, he's a smart guy. Wouldn't you want to use the same lawyer as the president? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Why wouldn't you use Michael Cohen as your lawyer? Everyone needs a good bagman, lawyer, excuse me, mixed up bagman and lawyer. He does have 3 clients. Him and another fine gentleman in Los Angeles. And, look, I'm trying to tell you what's going on here. I've given you a lot of good material, which is why didn't the chlorine gas explode after the Tomahawk attack? If I have an education and I have some knowledge, please challenge me on that question and tell me I am wrong. Am I not allowed to ask the question? Doesn't the Declaration of Independence state that a government's legitimacy is based upon the consent of the governed. I am the loyal opposition. I am extremely loyal to President Trump and his agenda, but I oppose this attack. I believe he was misled and misinformed from the beginning to the end, and I believe the end game has not yet been seen, and I believe that the evil powers of the world are going to divide Syria up and steal the land for various reasons, mainly for economic advantage, meaning stealing land to run pipelines through Syria. It was the same exact scenario as under Clinton when they stole Kosovo from Serbia, based on the false premise that there was a humanitarian crisis being committed by the Serbians. The exact opposite was true. But it didn't stop Clinton from bombing Serbia into submission and stealing 1/3 of their land for the Kosovar Albanian Muslims. So we have the same thing going on now. But if you don't want to hear it, I mean, I could do other stuff. I had a wonderful bottle of wine last night. Would you like me to talk about the various points of Santemillon and things like that, which vintages are good, and how great a 1995 was from a certain vineyard? I can teach you how to make shrimp and spaghetti if you'd like. Just speaking as a side note about wine for 1 minute, many of you don't know where grape wine was first made. Many of you think it was made in Napa Valley, but it's not true. It was found, believe it or not, in Georgia, and I don't mean Atlanta, in 6000 BC. Georgia, not the Georgia we know. It was found in Iran about 5000 BC. Archaeological evidence of grape wine found in Greece, 4500 BC. Grape wine found at sites in Sicily, 4000 BC. But here's something you're not going to believe. There is earlier evidence of a wine made from fermented grapes, among other fruits, being consumed in China. See, they beat us again, 7000 BC. But hold on now. That may be the oldest one. The oldest evidence of wine production found in Armenia. Would you have guessed that? 4100 BC. 4100 BC. Pretty amazing. So you don't know, many people don't know. They thought it was Napa Valley or France, but it really wasn't. The Iranians were getting drunk already 5,000 years before Christ. The Georgians, 6,000 years before Christ, they're getting stewed. The Greeks, of course, 4,400 years before Christ, were getting stewed. And naturally, the Sicilians were getting stewed 4,000 BC. But the Chinese were at it 7,000 years before Christ. Amazing. Huh. Go figure. So you don't know. You get up a bottle of wine. Where does it come from? I'm interested in all of these things. You know, whatever you want, I can talk. I had hail this morning. Come out on my deck in the morning and there's hail. I said, hey, hail, the God's all here. I have never seen it in all my years in San Francisco. 2018, hail in April in San Francisco. Must be that darn global warming again. Al Gore hasn't yet given a speech on it, but it must be that global warming to explain hail. I frankly loved it. I didn't have to go up to Tahoe to get the snow in my face. But nevertheless, there are so many things, and the main poll question for me was, which I put on my website, poll question was the Syria bombing in the U.S. national security interests? Because I don't know if it was. It's running 80% to 20% no. And admittedly, my audience is much different than the generic American audience. The average, let us say, ice cream liquor, beer swilling, baseball goers probably loves the war. War good. We love war. Now, I tweet so you get some of the stupidest people on earth replying to tweets. That's why they only tweet. They have nothing else to do. So a guy writes this: if you don't support the bombing, then you need to have your radio show taken away from you. You change your tone real quick on this, says JT. See, that's the America you want to live in, isn't it? Don't you want to live in an America where anyone who questions authority should be taken off the air? That's the kind of real conservatives we need. That's the kind that listen to the great Americans who use Cohen for a lawyer. The brainwashed sheeple that I've been warning you about for 25 years. You think the people on the right can't be sheeple? I got another guest coming for you. They're bigger sheeple than those on the left. You know, in the 70s, there were bumper stickers all over the place that said question authority. I remember everywhere you turned in the San Francisco area, question authority. And it was being generated not so much by liberals or by conservatives. It was a libertarian bumper sticker, question authority. So here I am in the year 2018 questioning authority, and you sheeple out there are telling me I should be taken off the radio because I'm not here giving you a Sieg Heil. Well, just turn on the guys who go on the radio every day and wrap themselves in the Constitution and don't even understand the first thing about the words, the consent of the governed. It's from the Declaration of Independence. And never forget what I'm about to say to you. Never. Don't you dare misquote me. I am the loyal opposition. I'm extremely loyal to Donald Trump and to his message especially of 10 days before the bombing. Not to Donald Trump, who was hoodwinked by the New World Order that sent in these new troops to mislead him and deceive us. But I'll read something to you. It's called Consent of the Governed. Second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. It won't hurt you to listen. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers, their just powers, from the consent of the governed. 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 What does it have to do with anything? Well, there's a couple of questions. Warmongers hijacked our Constitution on Friday. Did they get the consent of the governed? Have they provided any evidence yet that there were actual chemicals in those facilities, or were they empty buildings like Bill Clinton's aspirin factory? Well, let's ask ourselves some questions. Let's not just believe the government. I must outline where I'm coming from. You got to know my motivation. My motivation is loyal opposition. There's a wonderfully important phrase in the British parliamentary form of government where they reference the loyal opposition. I consider myself the loyal opposition with emphasis on the first word, not the second. I am extremely loyal to Donald Trump and Donald Trump's agenda, but I oppose his bombing of Syria for many reasons. And so let's ask ourselves some questions. If, as the government tells us, these facilities contain chlorine gas, why didn't the chlorine gas explode after the Tomahawk missile attack? Could it be because there was nothing in the buildings? I mean, if you know basic chemistry from your high school days, I'll make it even simpler for you. If you didn't take basic chemistry, let's say you were like Robert De Niro in the thespian world, and all you do is put on outfits and make believe you were someone else, meaning you were an actor. If you took high school chemistry, you would know that chlorine is extremely ignitable. And if you mix it with other fuels, it may cause explosion. And a container containing chlorine would explode in the heat of fire. And it's extremely poisonous and hazardous. And hydrogen and chlorine mixtures, by the way, can be exploded by almost any form of energy, producing toxic and corrosive fumes of hydrochloric acid. Highly toxic fumes are released. Why am I telling you this? Well, we all saw the Tomahawks flying off the B-1 bombers, right? We got to practice our new weapons. The manufacturer was very happy with how they worked. They tested them the way the Stuka bombers were tested over Guernica before World War II. Oh, yeah, Third Reich needed to test its Stuka bombers. They were new, the dive bombers. And so they chose a poor Basque town called Guernica to practice their bombing runs. Well, it turns out that the Tomahawks worked fairly well. Whoever manufactured them is probably going to get new contracts for those shiny new missiles because they worked. They worked really well. So as the Tomahawks flew out of our B-1 bombers, God bless the pilots, and they hit these alleged toxic chemical factories, I want to know, why didn't we see any explosions of gas, which would have killed thousands of people in the vicinity? There's only one of two answers. Either these factories of death were empty, or what's the other answer? I have no other answer. So we can only conclude that the factories hit by the Tomahawk missiles were empty. In other words, didn't one of our previous presidents fire missiles at an empty aspirin factory? Another one hit a milk factory in the Libyan desert? This is an old game. I say we lost and the war machine won. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Beets are one of the superfoods of the world. There's so much I can tell you about it, but let me just tell you about nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules in your body. It promotes healthy circulation, which gets the oxygen and nutrients flowing throughout your body, and it helps support healthy blood pressure. And you can help your body produce nitric oxide naturally by drinking Super Beets. Only Super Beets is made from beets grown to exacting standards, and the nutrients in the beets are concentrated in a way that makes them usable to the body to create nitric oxide safely and naturally. If you want to increase your body's nitric oxide levels, and you should, believe me, simply call 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. And listen to me. With your first Super Beets order, get another 30-day supply for free, plus free indicator strips to see how Super Beets actually work in your body, and free shipping. You can't beat it. Try it. 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. Harsh treatments to look younger. But why on earth would you do that? Listen to Joanne from Connecticut. She says, my husband looks 10 years younger using Genucel. He saw results the first day he used it. I've also had remarkable results, can't be without it. Imagine the bags and puffiness under your eyes gone, and watch those sagging, droopy eyelids disappear. That's years off your appearance. Genucel by Chamonix is an easy choice. Genucel contains natural ingredients for incredible results safely and quickly. It's as simple as that. In fact, with immediate effects, you will see results like Joanne's in as little as 12 hours, or you get your money back guaranteed. And right now, perfect time, try Chamonix's brand new Genucel Eyelid Lift for droopy, sagging eyelids. You order Genucel today, and you get the brand new Genucel Eyelid Lift absolutely free. So go to Genucel.com. That's Genucel.com, or 800-SKIN-891, 800-SKIN-891, 800-SKIN-891. Call now, express shipping also free. Go ahead, 800-SKIN-891, 800-SKIN-891, or go to Genucel.com. That's Genucel.com. So each missile cost $1.2 million. They allegedly dropped 70 of them off of B-1 bombers, right? And from a few subs to test them out. Like the Stuka bombers, you have to test those subs. You know, they get rusty. You know, I mean, you don't fire those Tomahawks off a nuclear sub every once in a while. They get rusty, the silos, right? So they had a good test case here. They had to bomb Syria, some empty buildings, and allegedly they fired 70 of them. Planes, they dropped the B-1 bomber, sub, 70 times 1.2 is about $100 million. Now you add in the cost of fuel of flying the B-1s, the fuel of driving the nuclear submarine to the area, the overtime. You had to move a whole fleet out of there over into the Mediterranean to deceive the Russians. This thing added up to a lot of money. You add up the travel and entertainment, the dry cleaning of all the uniforms after a mission like this. It's a lot of money. So this must have cost $1 billion, this little... it's a lot of money when you think about it, to bomb an empty building. Why did Hannity enlist Cohen's services, people are asking? He says he didn't. I mean, to be fair to the great American, he says he didn't. He knows him. And he did talk to him in the hallways here and again, but he claims he's not the mystery third man. We have to take his word for it because he's a good guy. This man represents America better than anybody, and he's certainly a good American. He says so. And he confirms he's a good American almost every other day. So therefore, we have to believe he's a good American. Let's see. What else is on MichaelSavage.com? Macron backs off claim that he convinced Trump to keep troops in Syria. All right. Macron says no. Theresa May on Syria airstrikes. We have not done this because Trump asked us to. She is so prissy. I watched the parliamentary proceedings. Man, those English. They were like getting each other's face, but no one challenged her today in England. The only one who challenged her was thrown off Sky News right in the middle of it. Meanwhile, video I have on my website of hailing in April in San Fran. Very refreshing. Here's another article for those of you who are interested in the San Francisco area and the cleanliness of the politicians. United Public Workers for Action urged San Francisco's U.S. Attorney to begin a criminal investigation and prosecution of Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi and Senator Dianne Feinstein. Now, that's never going to happen since they appointed the U.S. Attorney. So don't be absurd. There's another article, the strange silence of Rep. Pelosi and Sen Feinstein over the $1 billion U.S. fraud scandal with Tetra Tech at Hunters Point Naval Shipyard. But that didn't make it to any important site, so therefore it doesn't exist. Here's another little article that may attract your attention, the average person out there. Vigilante parents face charges for tying up sex offender. Now, this is a crazy story. A guy comes, an older man, to, doing bad stuff with their kid, right? British Columbia. That says Canada. Listen to this. The unidentified parents from Port Alberni, British Columbia, tackled and with zip ties hogtied a 28-year-old man who they claim showed up at their home last week to have sex with their 13-year-old daughter. So they restrained the man. They called the police. Then they broadcast the suspect hogtied in a Facebook Live video as he lay on the floor to have sex with their 13-year-old daughter. Are you listening to this? They tackle him. They zip tie him. Take a guess what happens next in socialist Canada. The parents are arrested. They're facing assault charges for their vigilantism. The nanny state of Canada had the nerve to say, let's see, Corporal Amelia Hayden, Corporal, I love that one, of the Port Alberni Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The police had directed her not to take matters into our own hands, that we were investigating it. The mother was told not to make this thing happen. So they arrested the parents. The policewoman slammed the parents for their actions for hogtying them. The policewoman said, vigilante actions like these are not only illegal and put people in danger, but they also have the potential to compromise the original investigation, said the corporal. It hasn't resolved one issue. It's caused another and put people in danger, everybody. The parents said they were left with no other choice. He said they've been asking for help from the police for 6 weeks, and the police ladies did nothing. So a couple said they wanted to spread the man's face over social media. So that's what happens in Canada when the government is a socialist government like that Hillary Clinton would have imposed in America. So we better thank God that Hillary Clinton lost for many reasons, and that we never, ever get such a crazy nanny state like this in the United States of America. Vigilante parents face charges for tying up alleged child sex predator. Could you imagine that a thing like this would happen? Of course you can, especially in a nation like that. Well, these and other stories can be found on michaelsavage.com. There are many other things. We're still running the poll. Was the Syria bombing in the U.S. national security interests? As of this moment, we're running 78% no, 21% yes. You can still vote. Of course, it's a biased poll. I don't pretend it isn't, because people who go on michaelsavage.com, as you well know, are all knuckle-dragging troglodytes, and they don't know anything. They're not as smart as those who read the newspaper put out by Willie Brown and Nancy Pelosi, the mimeograph sheet called the Chronicle. They're the smart people. They're the smart ones. They would know that the bombing is good bombing because they like war. They don't want peace. They want Trump to look like a warmonger, so that's why they're in favor of the bombing. If you care to vote on the poll, you can do it on michaelsavage.com. In either case, thank you for listening. God bless America. And remember, I am the loyal opposition, and I question authority.